What's that? Who there? Whoa.
If you had to write a startup manifesto with 5 of the most important key lessons or pitfalls to avoid when starting out, what would they be?
So number one, first and foremost, is to get the strategy right and to continue making sure the strategy is right. There's nothing worse than realizing you're like marching through the jungle, leading a ton of people with a machete, and you're just like about to walk them off a cliff. So I think about, I mentioned Brian Balfour earlier, actually. He has this incredible framework that we use at Mindbloom, which is a product, market, channels, model fit. So you don't just need to be in a good market and understand your market and a product that fulfills key core needs in that market. You also need distribution channels that make sense for that product in that market, and you need a business model that can support, marketing or acquiring customers in that channel, and that market will pay for. So yeah, getting the strategy right, and even at Mighty, we're a P2P lending marketplace after our Series A. Back when that was like really hot, after like Lending Club had IPO'd and On Deck had a big IPO previously. And after like a year, we're seeing like all of these market dynamics that we thought were going to work, we're not working. And our board encouraged us like to continue pushing. Like, it's just really hard. You got to like break through. And ultimately we made this really hard decision to hard pivot the business to B2B. It's like rebuild everything we were building for a marketplace to sell as a SaaS platform. We had all these customers that we were disrupting. We had all these people in the industry we were going to disrupt. And now we're selling software to them. And it was one of the most painful thing I've ever done in my career. Other than having a soul crushing job right out of college at a talent agency, and ultimately saved the business. And by focusing on making sure that our strategy was right and not just like blindly marching forward, we like saved that business. The second thing is to feed strengths and opportunities and starve problems and weaknesses. Have you ever played Settlers of Catan?
Definitely. Love it.
So I am very good at Settlers of Catan. Just played on Thanksgiving and just crushed my entire family. And I think the reason I'm good at Settlers of Catan, based on my win-loss record, which is exceptional, is that I just find like one or two call it like all-in strategies, and I invest everything into them. So and that gives me like an outsized, that gives me like more leverage than everybody else who maybe has like a diluted strategy. So I see a lot of people and companies who try to do like too many things, or and I've done this myself, or they really focus on like all this little minutia versus like setting all that aside, finding a few things that are like your competitive advantage that you want to be like exceptional at, and just like pushing all in on that, and trying to find like the biggest lever and just pulling that lever at the exclusion of every other lever. The third, which I think we mentioned earlier, is just how big the gap is between great talent and good talent. And I think relentlessly figuring out how to work with exceptional talent is one of those levers. And so that might mean you need to like pay up for that talent and not be cheap. It might mean you need to like relentlessly cull talent if it's just not at that standard. And that also means like understanding like who you need and what people's strengths are, and putting them in a position to succeed at the right point in their career. Like, sometimes great talent is great in one area, but if you move them somewhere else, or they're not in the right position, then they're just not great in that area, or they're not great in that culture. But really getting to a point where you look around the table and every single person gives you energy. And, if you ask yourself, say like, would I be disappointed if this person came to me tomorrow and let me know that they got another job? If you wouldn't be disappointed, then like that person's not a fit for the company and needs to go. Next would be, similar to that would be, when finding talent, to not go out and like find the person you think you need, but to take like responsibility, especially as like a founder, know that you probably have the ability to like do a lot of jobs and figure a lot out, to get super specific about like exactly what you want people to accomplish, and then go out and find people who can like crush those things, and to get 10 times more like specific and granular about what those things are and dive into people's backgrounds and strengths and skills and stories 10 times deeper than I think. The deeper I dive into both those outcomes and people's backgrounds, I just keep realizing I can go deeper and deeper. The last, maybe the most important, is just like the importance of relentless focus. I think the most common heuristic I'm using at Mindbloom is asking us as a company, but every individual at the company, like, what is the number one thing that you could be working on that would move the needle long term for the company? Not tomorrow, but like long term. That we want to add like things. We want to like add things like add zeros to the business long term, and just being relentless about that. So everyone thinks they're focused, but it's just never ceases to amaze me how many things can actually be cut at the exclusion of like one or two most important things, and just how much additional velocity that actually generates. Fighting entropy is hard.
That's such a good point. I mean, so many people, they say they're focused, but they're unwilling to cut it down to that 1 to 2. I mean, I find even with myself, I would love to be able to double down on 2 things, and I just like can't get myself to do it. It's so difficult, but so key.
I'm a parallel processor. Like, I can multitask effectively. I consider my strength that I can do a million things at once. So it's like counterintuitive to me to do relentless focus. But as I've forced myself to, I've just seen how much more velocity I can get when I go project by project, or thing by thing, versus taking on a ton.
Yeah.
So yeah, those would be my 5.